Bhagavad Leela, chapter 80. Sudama Brahman visits Krishna in Dvaraka. Vishwanath comments, one who experiences the taste of hearing about Krishna's fascinating pastimes automatically becomes disgusted with the inferior taste of material pleasure. Vishana Kama Margane. Hearing anything other than topics of Krishna is useless. And text 3, Shukadev says, actually this last verse and the next one is spoken by Parikshit, glorifying the exploits of Mukunda. Savagyaya tasya gunan grinite karocha tat karma karo manas karo manascha smared vasantam stira jangameshu Srinati Tatpunyakata Sakarna. Parikshit said, O Shukadev, actual speech is that which describes the qualities of Sri Krishna. Real hands are those hands which work for Krishna. A true mind is that mind which always remembers Krishna, dwelling within everything moving and non-moving. And actual ears are those ears that listen to the sanctifying topics about Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Parikshit said, not only the ears, but all organs of the body become useless without a connection with Krishna. Shonaka made a similar statement, second canto 320. The tongues of those who fail to sing of the Lord's glories are useless as those of frogs. The senses should work together in Krishna consciousness. In other words, whatever the eyes or ears experience, the mind should simply remember Krishna, who is within all things. Parikshit goes on. An actual head is that head that bows down to Sri Krishna in his manifestations among the moving and non-moving creatures. Real eyes are those eyes that see only Lord Krishna. And actual arms and legs are those which regularly honor the water that has bathed the Lord's feet, or those of his devotees. The eyes which see both the deity form of Krishna and his devotees. The head which bows down to the deity form of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. And the limbs which receive the footwater of Krishna and his devotees are fortunate. In this verse, the word angani refers to the limbs which are above the navel, since pouring charnamrita on one's body lower than the navel is offensive. You can pour charnamrita on your head or chest. Shukadev begins, after hearing this, begins to glorify a great Brahmin friend of Krishna named Sudama, who is peaceful and self-controlled. He was a grihastha and lived very simply. His wife had the same qualities. They were both always thin and tolerating hunger. His wife was more tolerant than Sudama, because whatever she received as food and charity, she served to her husband, while herself remaining hungry. They were so poverty-stricken, her face was dried up because of distress. She was distressed because she could not obtain any food to offer to her husband. Out of fear of her husband, she was also trembling, because she knew that he did not want to beg Lord Krishna for anything other than devotion. One day, Sudama's wife spoke to him, "O Brahman, isn't it true that the husband of Lakshmi Devi is your personal friend? That greatest of the Yadavas, Sri Krishna, he's known to be compassionate to Brahmins and very willing to grant his shelter to the Brahmins." Vishwanath, text 9. From Sudama Patni's statements, one can see that Sudama's wife anticipated every possible objection her husband might make to her request to beg charity from Krishna. If Sudama might say to his wife in reply, "How could the husband of Lakshmi Devi befriend a fallen soul like myself?" His wife replies by saying, "Krishna is Brahmanya, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Favorably disposed towards the Brahmanas. But then Sudama will say, but I do not have the qualities of such a Brahman. His wife says in verse 9, doesn't matter, Krishna gives shelter to anyone who surrenders to him. Sudama, but since I have no devotion, I do not even have the quality of surrender. Wife, Krishna is omniscient Bhagavan, therefore he will take note of your unhappiness and be merciful to you. Sudama, Krishna is equally disposed to all the countless unhappy conditioned souls suffering the fruits of their own karma. So why should he give wealth to me? Wife, Krishna is the master of the devotees. He may not give, but the devotees who serve him by fanning and other actions will mercifully give you some charity. Since Krishna maintains the yadus, what burden or fault is that for him to maintain you? His wife continued, or Prabhu, you may not consider yourself a sadhu, but you are definitely in a wretched condition. Seeing that you are struggling to support your family and worthy of charity, Krishna will certainly give generously, as Krishna is the final shelter of those who are wretched. Sudama replied, but Krishna may be in Indraprastha, Dvaraka, or some other place killing demons. His wife replied, Krishna has put aside all his weapons, does not leave his capital Dvaraka. He is the ruler of the opulent kings, Bhojas, Vrishnis, and Nandakas. If they merely acknowledge you as a personal friend of Krishna's, they will give you everything you need. Sudama, but I am embarrassed to ask anything from Krishna. Wife, Krishna gives himself unto any person who remembers him, even without asking for anything. What to speak of Krishna giving material wealth and sense gratification to his devotee, which are not very much desirable for him to give, because in the long run they are tasteless. Moreover, Krishna is the benefactor of the universe, and thus he gives to those who entreat him, even what they have not specifically begged for. Therefore, Prabhu, if you go to Dvaraka and just remain silent, Krishna will give you the abundant wealth you desire, simply by his will. Since Krishna is your true benefactor, Krishna will also give you the sweetness of his lotus feet, which is all you really want. Due to his natural humility, Sudama was initially dissatisfied with his wife's constant requests. Finally, he pacified his mind and decided to go to Dvaraka by thinking, yes, I will become very fortunate by seeing my Lord Krishna. Devi, if there is some gift in the house, please give it to me. How can I go empty-handed to my friend's house? In response, Sudama's wife begged for some flat rice from neighboring Brahmins, 4 handfuls. Sudama departed to Dvaraka, but he was thinking, how will the gatekeepers allow me to enter? Surely they will stop me. Sudama passed through 3 encampments of soldiers protecting the outer gates of Dvaraka, and 3 tall tower houses at the inner gates of the city. Some local Brahmanas accompanied Sudama, and he passed near the houses of the unconquerable Vrishnis Andakas. He entered the main palace among the palaces of Krishna's 16,000 queens. It was Rukmini's palace. He stood silently at the doorway. Momentarily, Sudama forgot everything, because he felt that he had attained the bliss of liberation. Achyuta was sitting on Rukmini's bed, but seeing his old friend, he immediately got up and went to meet him. He embraced Sudama in great bliss in the courtyard. He felt intense ecstasy touching the body of his friend, and shed tears of love upon their reunion. He seated him upon the bed and sprinkled the water that he washed Sudama's feet, then sprinkled the water on his head. Then Rukmini found him with her chamara, or possibly it was another queen named Shaibya. But Padma Puran says Rukmini. Some commentators say Shaibya. All the palace attendants were astonished to see Krishna lovingly honor this shabbily dressed Brahmin. Amala Kirtina, spotless fame, indicates that after this incident, Krishna's fame, which always accompanies him, would assume the form of the glories of his having delivered Sudama from poverty. The residents of the palace were talking among themselves at this amazing sight. The Dwarkavasis were astonished. Sudama was lowly in the sense he was dressed in shabby cloth. And they said, "What pious acts has this unkempt, impoverished Brahmin performed? People regard him as lowly and contemptible. Yet the Guru of the whole world and the abode of Goddess Shri is serving him respectfully. And he embraces Brahman as if he were an elder brother." Holding hands, Krishna and Sudama talked about old times when they were in Sandipani Muni's Gurukul in Ujjain. And they started reminiscing. Krishna said, he said, "After you left the Gurukul, upon giving a dakshina to Sandipani Muni, and you went home from school, did you marry or not?" So although Sudama was wearing white as a householder, he didn't appear to be enjoying any material pleasure. So Krishna asked him if he was married or not. "Sudama, even though you are not speaking out of embarrassment, I know the actual situation. Though you are a householder, your heart is not disturbed by lust. O wise one, Vidvan, because you understand the temporary nature of material enjoyment, you have little attraction for wealth, clothing, and other things. Therefore, these material things have not been given to you. For the sake of your wife, you are displaying a favorable disposition towards material wealth." Krishna is saying these things in verse 29, indicates they will later give him these things. "Just see, though this man Sudama is a householder, he is without desires and does not want anything from others. Even if he is given some charity by force, still he will not accept it." They're saying this, Krishna thought, "To broadcast the fame of my friend Sudama in Dwarka, I will not reveal his desire to anyone, nor outwardly give him any charity in this place of Dwarka. I know very well, Sudama, that you did not take sannyas like others, even though you are renounced. Those who are detached engage in work, even though their minds are not attracted by material desires. By working in this way, they give up the perverted propensity of the mind to create desires for material enjoyment. As a householder, I myself act according to Shastric injunctions in order to teach the general masses." Krishna inquired, "O Brahmana, do you remember when we were in Gurukul?" In his mind, Sudama was doubting, thinking, "Krishna worships me in this way although I'm lowly. Does he actually recognize who I am or not?" To dispel this doubt, Krishna reminds Sudama of their school days together. In 12 verses, 31 through 43, this is 31. Krishna said to Sudama, "In human life there are 3 gurus. One's father, the one who gives Upanayanam Samskar, Brahman Diksha, and the one who teaches about me, Krishna Shiksha, Vaishnava Guru. Of these, the Vaishnava Guru, Pancharatrika Guru, is most worshipable. The Father who gives us birth in this world is the first Guru. He who teaches the Gayatri Mantra and engages one in sanctified activities is the second. But he who gives knowledge to the people in the 4 ashramas and who teaches about Sri Krishna is to be worshipped on the same level as me. The third Guru actually delivers the student from material life. Among those following the Varnashram system, they who know the highest truth cross beyond material existence by hearing from a bona fide Guru who teaches about me and initiates them into my Krishna or Gopal mantra. Such a Guru is my very form, Maya Guruna. Text 33. Therefore, Sudama, the Guru who teaches about me is most worthy of being faithfully served, even though I am the soul of all beings. I am not as satisfied by ritual worship, Brahminical initiation, penances, or self-discipline, as I am by faithful service rendered to one's spiritual master. Guru Sushushaya Yata. Sudama, do you remember that incident that happened when we were living at Gurukul? There was a great storm. It was winter. Wind and rain and thundering clouds. It was all unseasonal. The sun set and covered the forest in darkness, flooding everywhere. You couldn't find high or low land. We simply held our hands together and wandered aimlessly in the forest, continuing to carry the firewood which we had collected for our Guru Sandipani Muni. We stayed there all night, wandering. Our Guru Sandipani Muni came that morning looking for us. He said, "Oh, you suffered so much." And he said, all true disciples, such Shishya, should repay the debt to their Guru by offering their body, which is the basis of material conception of I, and all their assets, which is the basis of the conception of mine, my wealth, my house, my etc. Your knowledge of scriptures will remain ever fresh in your minds and never grow old, in this life or the next. Krishna continued. Many such incidents happened to us while living in Gurukul. Sudama replied, what lack of bliss was there for us, my Lord Krishna? It was completely blissful for us to live in the Gurukul with you, whose every desire becomes fulfilled. Living in Gurukul was your wish alone. The difficulties of the wind and rain we encountered during that winter storm in the forest when we went to fetch wood for our Guru were all due to your own desire, since you wanted to teach devotion to the spiritual master, how one should be tolerant and patient and even undergo intense suffering to please the Guru. Other than that, what power do the wind and rain have over you? The Taittiriya Upanishad says, Bish asmad vata pavate. The wind blows out of fear of you. My Lord, it was my great fortune to have lived there with you in a Gurukul. My Lord, your body comprises the absolute truth in the form of the Vedas, and your body is the source of all auspicious goals. You lived in a Gurukul of Sandipani Muni only to teach others. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Jai Shri Radhe.